Lot of Dawnwalker is the latest release by Rebel Wolves, a studio led entirely by ex-CDPR devs who worked on Witcher 3 and the previous Witcher games. With only 7 days to go for the release, it is shaping up to be more than just a reskin of The Witcher with a different storyline. And with all the recent previews just before launch, I've compiled a list of things that you want to know before you get into the game. The game is set in 14th century Europe, which takes place in Vale Sangora, a secluded region somewhere in the Carpathian Mountains. When the plague decimated the entire population and it was complete chaos, a powerful vampire Burnus stepped out of the shadows and conquered the valley. Burnus uses his own blood as healing in return for obedience from all the people living in the valley. The map is carved into 3 domains which are ruled by the 3 officers by Beerus' side. The first one is responsible for collecting blood that will then be used to train the soldiers that they have that is part of the vampiric regime. The next one is used to distill and distribute alcohol to the residents of the valley. And finally, the female one will be used to create the blood soldier, which are the elite enemies of the vampiric regime. Blood of Dawnwalker has an interesting proposition when it comes to gameplay because now you can play as both a human and a vampire. You're human during the day and you can turn into a vampire at night. And with the human side, you get to fight with your sword like a traditional combat. And you can use some hex magic. While on the vampiric side, you don't use your sword anymore and instead you have your claws and then you can use your vampiric powers. Combat-wise, it features a directional combat system similar to Kingdom Come Deliverance or For Honor if you've played those games before. So instead of just having a traditional attack and block button, now you have directional input that you need to enter to have better combos or be able to block attacks coming from certain directions. From the gameplay, you can see there are directional hints on the lock-on system to the enemies, and depending on the direction the attack is coming from, you do see an indicator on what side you want to press your button on to block or parry the attack. But if you don't like this, there is also an option to disable this with the omnidirectional system, so that way you won't have to bother with that, making the gameplay a little bit simpler. But I do believe actually playing it on a directional mode like the game intends to is gonna be definitely more fun and more engaging, so definitely try that when you do. With the separation between the human and the vampiric side, when it comes to combat, there are also going to be separate skill trees. For the human side, for example, you will have to find the witch that has been featured in the gameplay so much, and then also find books and tomes which guide you towards the skills, and only then you will be able to unlock them in your skill tree. While on the vampiric side, you actually need to increase your corruption level, which is done by drinking blood during combat and out of combat. And you can also drink blood not just from your enemies but also from animals and such, just with the output of the blood being much lower. Since it's called a corruption level, I'm assuming there will also be some negative side effects if you drink too much blood and decide to go all in on your vampiric side, so that's going to be an interesting mechanic to look forward to. In terms of the stories, it seems that we will have to save our family, and we get a total of 30 days and 30 nights to save our family. Though the 30 days is not a real-time thing or something that's passing in-game. Instead, it seems to be more like a currency that can be used. So based on your actions, you'll be able to see if it is actually consuming the days from your time or not. And even if you do end up consuming all the 30 days, you don't get a game over screen. Instead, your family is simply lost to you. And that might include like a more evil playthrough or a more evil ending where your family is dead, so you can go all in on the vampiric side and maybe take over the valley as the main vampire lord after killing the 4 main enemies. The day system also influences how many side quests and things you will be able to do, because as you do more important side quests, you'll see that resource is being consumed, so you'd want to be careful based on what exploration you're doing, which then increases the amount of things you might miss or you might want to do based on how much you have left in terms of that time clock. Speaking of side quests, the map seems to be filled with the various activities that you can do and you might want to do based on how time permits. There's obviously going to be different types of terrains that you go explore, from caves to landmarks to icy regions. There's also a discovery system where you can use your movement abilities to climb up a tower to scout the area and then mark important places of interest and go about exploring that way. There are also shrines you come across that you will need to activate by placing a key item there, which might be on an enemy nearby. And by activating the shrine is how you also access the perk system on your human side. So there are quests relating to the map exploration there. The vampire side also lets you turn into a wolf at night, which helps you with the exploration and giving you more freedom of movement. And a similar ability can also be acquired via the human hex forms, where you just have a faster sprint. There's also a notoriety system, which is going to then impact how the gameplay changes based on the damage you do to the three regions of the three generals that are present. And from the gameplay we saw, there are various effects that take place based on whose territory you're trying to conquer. And this would eventually lead to like a fight with the main person of that territory. But here you can see some of the additional things that take place as your notoriety increases, like increased patrols, increased prices at vendors, and things like that. Just making the environment a lot harder to deal with as you progress into the story and start taking out these vampire officers. With our main objective being wanting to save our family and the freedom of choice that the game gives you, there's also a possibility that we could storm Barrius's castle right away as soon as the prologue is over. And on that note, this is what the trailer had to say for that.
Or you can even decide to storm Brensis's castle as soon as you are out of the prologue. However, remember that defeating him as a freshly made Dawnwalker will be a feat worthy of legends.
Which makes me wonder, there's probably going to be an achievement for beating him as a freshly made Dawnwalker, so that's going to be something I definitely try out. Of course, there's going to be an extensive loot system with things marked from the most basic to the legendaries, and obviously you can take the loot from your dead enemies, chests and whatnot throughout the area. In terms of the legendary weapons and armors, they seem to have like a special effect, and you also find crafting recipes for grenades and potions and whatnot. There also seems to be treasure maps just like The Witcher, so like here we find a treasure map that is guarded by a bear, and then we can defeat the bear and then loot the treasure. So a very extensive exploration system for the map that we have here. So those were some of the main mechanics I found looking at the trailer and all the promotional material that has been put out. Really looking forward to this game, so even you guys can let me know in the comments below whether you're gonna buy it or not. We're only a week away, so it's gonna be a short wait. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one.
Virtutem nobis dedisti, cum essemus desperati, spem nobis dedisti, cum essemus mali, medicinam nobis dedisti. Omnia tua donna tibi redemus, bibe e nobis sicut ex te bibimus.